Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex here with yet another severe weather outlook and discussion video here, where we're going to be talking about a potentially significant tornado outbreak going into Monday across a very large area from the Midwest, going down into the southern plains, basically from Canada to Mexico. Absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, tornado ingredients will be up here mainly in the Midwest, so that is to be expected there. Now, this will unfortunately be a much more detailed video. We have just so much to go over, and it's going to be a little bit lengthy here. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can cut it down a bit, but we are going to be looking at this step by step and really scrutinizing this to its fullest extent. As we look at today's severe weather risk, we are talking about a slight risk for severe weather across portions of far southeastern New Mexico here, and even a little bit of, the Red River Valley here, going into Oklahoma and Texas in that general vicinity. This over here, this far western slight risk, will mainly be a tornado risk here. There does appear to be some storm chasers out there right now, so I'll have to see what ends up happening over there, as the past few days have been very photogenic for low-end tornado activity. As we head into winds, you could see across the board there, but hail, definitely could see some hail upwards of 3 inches in diameter. Couldn't even rule out 3.5 inches in diameter, maybe baseball-size hail out in these areas, if not even a bit larger, so please be mindful of that. Going into tomorrow, goodness gracious, this is a humongous risk for severe weather. A low end, but a huge risk. Look at this. Stretching, like before, all the way from Canada, basically down to Mexico. Absolutely absurd. And then this slight risk here, this 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale for Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, even portions of Montana as well. I know it's a little early in the season for Montana to get it, but for sure, that's what we're seeing here. Now, as we move into our tornado risk, couple 2% within a 25-mile radius risk areas here, but yeah, we're not talking about too much there. This area in particular, alright, this area right through here could wind up seeing a strong tornado risk if any supercells could become realized in such an environment. We really have to monitor that. Hail risk, generally 15%. And like I said, wind risk, generally 15% as well. But don't you worry about a thing, because here is Monday's risk. We're talking about a day 3 moderate 4 out of 5 risk here for portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. So we are talking about a potentially prolific tornado outbreak, especially right within these areas here. I'm really watching this closely, especially towards the evening, but we'll get into that later. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on some towns and stuff in this risk. So yellow is 2 out of 5, orange is 3 out of 5, reds are 4 out of 5. Now, if you could find your town in here, look at just how expansive this is. Even Minneapolis is going to be getting really involved with this. And look at this, Des Moines, Iowa, Cedar Rapids here, Davenport, we're going down to Kansas City, and there's enhanced risk. And this just kind of continues moving on off to the south. Well, look at Oklahoma City and a slight risk. What in the world? And just look at that, all the way down to Mexico. Mexico going all the way up to Canada, even beyond that. This is a huge risk for severe weather. Moving on through, going into Tuesday, we have a large 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, a slight risk for all those areas in there. We don't have enough time in this video to really go in depth on that, but just know chance for damaging winds, maybe some hail, and maybe even a tornado risk as well. Going on into Wednesday, this is just ridiculous. Now we're down in Texas again, Dallas, Fort Worth. It's a very tiny area, but for sure could see a bit of severe weather moving on through. Maybe a tornado risk as well. Alright, now we're going to take a look at our HRRR model on our simulated reflectivity. We can notice quite a few supercells popping up this evening and tonight in New Mexico. Look at this one that pops up near Hobbs, New Mexico. It moves into Midland, Texas. This could potentially be a strong tornado risk if it develops. I'm starting to kind of doubt it, though, looking at real-time radar, but we'll have to see. There's some uncertainties with that, of course, but definitely very, very large hail with this supercell here, potentially over baseball size if that happens. This is going to be quite a significant issue later on this evening into tonight. Moving into tomorrow's risk, I told you we'd move kind of fast here. Look at that nice little supercellular cluster popping up just to southwest of Wichita, southeast of Medicine Lodge. This is not a forecast. I know, right? It's a day out, but the models are different than real-time analysis. Please be mindful of this, but you could see, could have a tornado risk with this. A possible stronger tornado, it just kind of depends on our environment here. It does look quite favorable, as you could tell here as we move into our storm energy. Yeah, we are talking about a large, expansive area of 3,000 CAPE, basically, 3,000 joules per kilogram, and that is well favorable enough for severe weather. You see your storms popping up in there. Really going to be bathing in that environment, which is looking very favorable. Your helicity here, 0 to 1 kilometer helicity. Your storm pops up here. See some green, yellow, even a couple of red colors indicated there. So, like I said, a strong tornado cannot be ruled out with that supercell. Let's talk about helicity near 300 meters square per second squared. That continues to move through. Could see a couple more storms initiate here. It's a little bit weird looking, right? Like it wants to fire stuff off for a potential tornado risk. Then your environment gets capped overnight and nothing else forms. Moving into your supercell composite, smash all the parameters together. This is what you get. And we are definitely talking about it here. At 0Z, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time, we are definitely seeing a favorable environment for severe weather. A little bit more further south, you don't have storms there, but if you did, yeah, definitely would be seeing more significant activity. And this continues on through, and there's your low-level jet cranking up all your wind flags there that develop. Significant tornado parameter here, for certain going to have a tornado risk with those supercells that fire in that area if they do. How about your RRFS, your RUFS model here, as it pertains to your composite reflectivity, kind of your radar presentation. Storms really blowing on through, but this looks very linear in nature. This wouldn't be much of a tornado risk. I mean, just significant uncertainties in the close range. That's not what you really want to see. If we have anything like this out in front of the line, if a line forms, I think it'll be more discrete in nature. That right there would be your intense long-track tornado threat if we see that materialize. Again, some uncertainties do remain, but then that kind of clusters up a bit and a bit of a tornado risk, but this just does not look as crazy as some of the other models are. How about down here for Iowa? Are we seeing much? Not really. This right here definitely would be a strong tornado risk, but you can see it's a bit of a glitch because it's gone, right? And not much else forms down here. And at this point, your wind vectors are starting to come out of your southwest with low-level, mid-level winds also coming out of the southwest. This would likely be more of a wind and hail risk as well as these up here than a tornado risk. How about your FV3 model? A little bit different here, right? We are talking about this one in particular showing a line of semi-discrete supercells that fire up here across portions of North Dakota, South Dakota, blowing on into Minnesota here. And look at that, kind of clusters up fast, so it also agrees. More of a linear mode here, so definitely more of a damaging, maybe even destructive wind risk and hail risk rather than a tornado threat. So it's very intriguing indeed, but still, I mean, same song and dance, you do have these supercells embedded here for a strong tornado threat. How about for Iowa here? Iowa, in my opinion, looks a little more conducive here on this model run. And you can see some blips that try and fire up. These could very quickly become discrete supercells capable of producing long-track intense tornadoes. But again, we're really not confident. We're really not certain. They did pull the moderate, but it's a bit weird. These models can be a little bit inaccurate sometimes, so I guess I could see why this right here could even promote a violent tornado risk, so gotta watch cells like that. Stuff like these little blips here, again, they could really explode quickly, so that is something to really monitor. Definitely going to really watch I can't stress this. I mean, going into southeastern Minnesota, going on through into northern Iowa, mainly northeastern Iowa, that is going to be a very favored parameter space, especially going into southwestern Wisconsin as well. So how about your NAM model here? We're going to take this pretty quickly. Take a look at that. We are talking about semi-discrete to fully discrete supercells firing up across western Minnesota. This is what we're really concerned about. Look at this. Definitely intense tornado risk with this. This is for sure going to be an issue if those form. And if that is south of our warm front, that is going to be problematic. That pushes on off to the north, and we see more storms trying to fire, more discrete supercells trying to fire, additional storm development possible in Wisconsin as well that we'll have to watch. And snow? What time of year is it? April 28th? Oh my gosh, this is just... Winter needs to go away now for everyone in the country. It is time to pack it up. It's almost May, for crying out loud. So if we advance further off to the east, I want to note this morning round of storms. This is very elevated in nature, so no tornado risk. Talking about wind and hail across the board. And then you could see, look at this going into central Wisconsin at around 6 to 7 p.m. on Monday. I shouldn't say timings. This is too far out. Definitely have some semi-discrete supercells we'll have to watch for a strong, intense tornado risk, and then those kind of do whatever they need to do, right? Now, moving on into Iowa here, this is where stuff gets very intriguing, so we're going to look here at some supercells in Nebraska. That's weird, right? Strong tornado risk with that, potentially more in Iowa, though. And this... discrete supercell here, discrete supercell here, couple of semi-discrete supercells, discrete supercell here. That right there is going to be a heightened tornado risk, but this is a little too far west in my opinion on this particular model. Look though, this here, that would definitely be an intense tornado risk. That'd be potentially a strong tornado risk, maybe an intense tornado risk. We gotta watch those cells that are by themselves because there will actually be some dry air aloft that may limit the clustering mess or more of a line. It'll limit something like this from forming. It'll be a lot more isolated. Potential intense tornado risk with those cells. Something back here. This is something we really need to monitor. This all out here could go off and really cause issues. So, again, super important to watch. That right there, man, this up here, this, I could circle this for days and days on end. We need to be high alert. Please turn your emergency alerts on your phone and get a weather radio if you can and blast it on high so you can be informed when a tornado warning is issued or even a tornado emergency if we see any of those. Moving further south here, going into Missouri, well, we don't really see as much. Any of these showers here could develop into storms, if not supercells, but there's really no point wasting time talking about that just yet. How about Oklahoma? Are we going to see something down here? Not really, but down here in Texas, we'll have to watch that. Could see a tornado risk out of these cells here that fire in western Oklahoma if they do southwestern Oklahoma as well. How about our ingredients here? We're taking a look at our storm energy, and we certainly do have a lot of it going on across a very big area. That is what this threat will be known for, and you could see a bit of a light capping here, so definitely storm sting individualized here, and that is something we need to monitor. How about your helicity here? What we're taking a look at is when our cells really fire off. Anything in the greens is suitable for tornadoes. Anything in the golds is possible strong tornadoes here. Those cells do fire and a potential risk for strong tornadoes. This up here, I will note, if we go back a couple frames here, very volatile environment up here going into your golds, your reds, potential for intense tornadoes up here. Couldn't even rule out a stray violent one as well in that particular environment. And as your wind shear cranks up, look at these cells. A strong tornado definitely could occur with those. And over here as well could see that. Maybe even an intense tornado. Moving further south, if we see anything, again, strong tornado risk. It's open season overnight. We just need storms to fire. Supercell composite here. Definitely elevated values across the board. Then that lights up further south into the overnight hours. Significant tornado parameter. Well, yeah, I mean, we're painting everything pink at this point. It's pretty in pink for sure. It's not looking too great here, so we really do not want storms to be firing in that environment because that will go off with a bang. Moving further south, your temperature and dew point spread will be a major issue down here. I wanted to note that. You could see it, your storm energy really maximized there, and when your storms fire off, they do so in a pretty favorable environment between 2,000 and 4,000 Cape, very suitable for severe weather. Your 0 to 1 kilometer helicity, so basically, like I said before, in these areas here, we are noting our tornado risk down here. Anything in the greens is suitable for a tornado. This may be more wind and hail driven, but we're a bit far out. Strong tornado risk for sure going on in northeastern Oklahoma if anything fires there. I wouldn't go further than a strong tornado, but just bear in mind that you do have much more elevated values in your reds there. Something to watch. Supercell composite parameters here, very elevated, very favorable environment. Same can be said about your significant tornado parameters as well. Definitely almost maxing out in a couple areas here. Look at that, even Kansas. So it's a widespread risk. Like I said, open season. That is a good phrase to describe this risk. If storms fire, they're going to fire in an environment and they're going to go ham. That's what this is showing. If we go into Tuesday here, let's take a look at that. We see a lot of storms firing up. Remember, our slight risk is this entire area here, roughly. I probably didn't draw that as well as I could have. Severe weather really popping off here, going into Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, for a very big area. Very large. That's also a phrase I've been using a lot in this video. And then down here, could see some isolated supercells of the tornado risk overnight in Texas. So that is going to be another hot topic as we go into Wednesday here. You could see wind, hail, possible tornadoes. That looks a lot more messy. And then continuing on through, you're just going to have these blips that form on the daily for a potential strong tornado risk, a very conditional, isolated, strong tornado risk in those areas of western Texas like we've been seeing the past few days. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community below, and share this friends family on social media so they could stay informed in this very large area. That's like the 5th time I've said that this video. And yeah, feel free to leave a comment in the section below. I feel like I went a little too in-depth on this video. If I did, please tell me that. Because opening up all those tabs made me wonder, is this really a good idea for the general public? I mean, I should shorten these. I should make them a little less crazy, right? But you let me know. Maybe you enjoy it. I don't know. And you all have a wonderful night, and please stay updated, stay weather aware, and have a way to receive warnings. My gosh, especially in that moderate risk, will we see an upgrade to a 5 out of 5? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Have a wonderful night, everyone.